baby. Can't do this in here anymore. They told me my name is on somebody's list, and I'm scared for my life. With nobody to lean on, and if they get to me, just know I love you.
Pay close attention to the footage from the east corridor of Clay Hills Correctional Center. It shows Kentrell Mays being escorted by Officer Harlan Pike, who walks unusually close, leaning toward Kentrell's ear while the inmate keeps his eyes forward and gives no response. The second clip, taken from a fixed camera above the chow line 1 week earlier, shows Kentrell carrying a tray when an officer bumps him hard enough to knock it from his hands. Two inmates nearby step in front of him, preventing him from retrieving a replacement tray as the officer turns away. The third clip, from a yard camera, captures Kentrell being cornered by two inmates, Lorenzo Lowe Briggs and Myron Bell. They block him near the fence while a supervising officer stands several feet away, not intervening, until the clip cuts with no recorded incident report. The final piece of footage comes from the corridor leading to the prison laundry. It shows Officer Pike escorting Kentrell to the doorway for his work shift. Pike unlocks the door, gestures him inside, and steps back out of frame. Hours later, the same camera records only two inmates leaving Lowe and Myron without Kentrell, long before the emergency call is logged. During evening count. The incident log described it as inmate stumbled, with no further explanation. Mays did not contest the entry or submit a grievance. In short phone calls to Larissa, he said he intended to avoid drawing additional attention to himself. His cellmate, Monroe Tate, 56, incarcerated for burglary, maintained a quiet routine and generally avoided disputes. Tate later explained that Mays appeared confused by how quickly tension developed around him. According to Tate, staff monitored Mays more closely than others on the tier, often stopping at his cell door during rounds and questioning him about minor issues. Other inmates noticed the attention as well, and some began distancing themselves to avoid conflict with staff. By early November, patterns of directed pressure had emerged. Several inmates with histories of cooperation with officers began approaching Mays in common areas, speaking to him briefly and then walking away when others entered the room. During supervised movement, officers frequently directed him to stand apart from the main line for unclear reasons. When Tate asked him about it, Mays said he did not understand what standard he was failing to meet. On November 19th, yard footage showed two inmates guiding Mays toward a far corner of the yard. Officers nearby did not intervene. Tate later said that Mays returned to the cell shaken and told him he had been warned to stay in line, though no one explained
like a monster on his ass.
Mays attempted to focus on his appeal, expecting progress because his attorneys continued requesting the missing patrol recordings. In letters to Larissa, he described trouble sleeping and concerns about being watched by both staff and inmates. Communication from outside soon became irregular. In late November, Larissa reported that two of her weekly letters had been returned without explanation. Mays also noted that a scheduled video call was canceled minutes before start time due to what staff described as connectivity restrictions. When he tried to ask about the issue, an officer dismissed him without checking the system. By early December, the pressure increased. On December 3rd, Mays received verbal warnings from officers for noncompliance during meal movement, though Tate, who walked behind him, later stated that Mays followed instructions. The write-ups appeared to place him on a closer internal watch, which gave officers more freedom to search his cell. These searches occurred repeatedly, disrupting his belongings and discarding approved items without documentation. On December 10th, Tate reported the first clear threat. After evening count, Mays sat down on the lower bunk and said that they picked me, adding that he did not know what had triggered the attention. Tate said the statement was delivered plainly, without panic. Clear resignation. Mays insisted he had no disputes with anyone and no debts inside the prison. The turning point came later that week. A small contraband phone circulated among several blocks, passed briefly between inmates who used it under cover of night. The device eventually reached Mays' cell. Along with it came a message passed through multiple intermediaries. His name was on a list, and the list was not related to formal discipline. No one provided details. One inmate told him to avoid asking more questions. Another implied that the issue began outside the prison, not inside it. Mays told Tate that the warning changed his understanding of the pressure he had been experiencing. He said the officer's behavior now aligned with the idea that some external factor had marked him before he ever arrived at Clay Hills. He did not know who initiated it or why. That night he considered filing a grievance but decided against it, saying he was unsure which staff members could be trusted. The contraband phone that reached C-Tier originated from another block, where Monroe Tate's cousin, Reggie Dorse, 41, incarcerated for theft, had been holding it for brief calls. The device moved through hands quickly to avoid detection. When Tate handed it to Contrell Mays late that night, the message arrived with it. Mays' name was on a list, and the list had nothing to do with official sanctions. Mays asked who created it, but neither Tate nor the inmates who passed the warning could provide details. By morning, 2 inmates known to cooperate regularly with specific officers repeated the same statement in the day room. One suggested the issue began outside the facility. Another told him directly to stop pressing the matter. The atmosphere around Mays changed in measurable ways. During the next 2 weeks, his mail from Larissa Mays began arriving out of order or not at all. When she attempted to visit on December 18th, staff turned her away at the gate, citing an unverified paperwork conflict. She later told Tate through monitored communication that no such issue had existed previously. Mays submitted a written request to clarify the visit denial, but no response came. Inside the facility, minor incidents followed a consistent pattern. A camera above the food line captured Officer Denard Willis stepping into Mays' path, forcing contact that caused Mays' tray to fall. Willis spoke briefly with 2 inmates standing nearby, and both blocked Mays from returning to the line. The incident log noted no disturbance. When Mays filed a kite about personal items missing after a cell search, the form was never processed. Within days he received 2 write-ups for disrespecting officers. Tate, who had been present during both interactions, later stated that the exchanges did not match the charges.
Well, there you have it. Like and subscribe.
We're back in business.